You have been taught a lie. The lie that says, hold on tighter, grip harder, never let go. That the more you clutch something, a person, a title, a number in a bank account, the more likely you are to keep it. But there is an older truth, colder, heavier, and far more useful. Silence. The people who have the most are almost without exception the people who need the least. Not because they don't care, not because they're numb, but because somewhere along the way, often through loss, they learned the terrifying, liberating secret of detachment. Today, we're going back more than 2,000 years to a shipwreck. A man loses everything he owns in a single afternoon. And by losing it, he stumbles into something no fortune could have bought him. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will understand why the tighter your fist closes, the less life can put into it. Think for a moment about the last time you were desperate for something. A job offer, a reply to a text, a deal closing. Remember how it felt in your chest. Tight, watchful. Every notification a small electric shock. Now remember the last time you didn't need something to go a certain way. How much clearer your thinking was. How much steadier your voice sounded. That difference isn't a coincidence. It's a mechanism. And the ancients understood it with a precision that most self-help culture today has completely forgotten. They didn't call it manifesting. They called it something closer to discipline of desire. The idea that what you chase with white knuckles tends to slip through your fingers, while what you hold loosely tends to stay. It sounds almost mystical when you first hear it. It isn't. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly why it works, and exactly how to practice it starting tonight. The ancient biographer Diogenes Laertius, writing centuries later, recorded the story of a merchant named Zeno of Citium. Now, we should be honest about the nature of this account. It comes to us secondhand, compiled generations after Zeno's death, part historical record and part legend already polished smooth by retelling. But it's broad strokes. A merchant, a fortune, a wreck, are consistent across the ancient sources, and its meaning has echoed through Stoic thought for 2,000 years regardless. So, picture it. A young trader, somewhere around 300 BC, loading his ship at the port of Citium on the island of Cyprus. Citium was a Phoenician trading city, a crossroads of cultures, Greek, Phoenician, Cypriot, and its merchants made their living moving valuable goods across the sea lanes that connected Egypt, the Levant, and mainland Greece. Zeno, by most accounts, came from a family already involved in trade. This voyage to Athens wasn't a reckless gamble. It was business as usual. The kind of trip he or men like him had likely made before. His cargo, Tyrian purple, a dye so expensive it was reserved for kings and senators. This single voyage represented, by some accounts, nearly his entire net worth. Everything he was, poured into wooden planks and canvas, crossing open water. And then, somewhere off the coast near Piraeus, the ship went down. We don't know the exact cause. A storm, most likely. The Mediterranean was unforgiving to merchant vessels of that era. What the ancient sources agree on is the outcome, not the mechanics. Zeno survived. His fortune did not. He arrived in Athens, according to the account, with nothing. No cargo, no ship, no fallback plan. Just a man standing on a foreign dock, watching the horizon where his old life used to be. Here is where most stories would end in despair. A ruined man, a cautionary tale. Consider what Athens would have looked like to him in that moment. This was the city at the height of its philosophical reputation, decades after Plato, decades after Aristotle had taught there, a place where ideas were currency in a way that rivaled the actual coinage changing hands in its markets. A ruined merchant, arriving in a city like that, had two paths. He could try to rebuild the exact life he'd lost, scrape together credit, find new cargo, chase the same fortune down the same roads. Or he could notice, for the first time in his adult life, that he had nothing left demanding his attention, and look up. Wandering the streets of Athens with nothing left to lose, Zeno walked into a bookshop. He picked up a scroll and began reading about Socrates. His character, his composure, the way he faced hemlock without flinching. According to the ancient account, Zeno asked the bookseller where he might find a man like that. At that exact moment, the philosopher Crates of Thebes happened to be walking past. The bookseller, so the story goes, simply pointed. We don't know Zeno's exact words in that moment, and no reliable record preserves them verbatim, so we won't invent any. What we do know is the shape of what happened next. Zeno began following Crates, studying under him, and from that collision of ruin and curiosity, a new school of thought was eventually born, the one we now call Stoicism. Later in his life, Zeno is recorded as having remarked that he made a prosperous voyage when he was shipwrecked. Think about the weight of that. A man who lost everything came to see the wreck not as the worst day of his life, but as the day his real fortune began. Here is the psychological mechanism hiding underneath that story. When Zeno had the cargo, his identity was fused to it. His worth, his future, his sense of self, all of it loaded onto a ship he did not control the fate of. The wreck didn't just take his goods. It severed that fusion. And once the fusion breaks, something strange happens. The man is no longer performing wealthy merchant. He has nothing left to protect, nothing left to perform. What remains is simply attention, undivided, available. That's why he could walk into a bookstall and actually hear what he was reading, instead of skimming it while mentally tallying tomorrow's shipment. Modern psychology has a name for a version of this. It's sometimes described as post-traumatic growth. The observation that some people, after losing something central to their identity, don't just recover. They reorganize around something more durable than what they lost. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years earlier and gave it a sharper edge. They called it distinguishing between what is up to us and what is not up to us. Your cargo, not up to you. The storm, not up to you. Other people's opinions, your reputation, the market, the weather, other people's choices. None of it is up to you. What remains entirely, permanently up to you is your judgment. Your response. The story you tell yourself about what just happened. This is not resignation. This is not don't try. Zeno still built something. An entire school of philosophy, a life's work, students who carried his ideas for centuries. Detachment, in the Stoic sense, was never about wanting nothing. It was about no longer needing the outcome in order to remain whole. And here is the part that sounds paradoxical until you actually live it. The less you need a specific outcome, the more clearly you can pursue it. Fear distorts judgment. Desperation narrows vision. A man clutching his last coin makes worse decisions than a man who has already made peace with losing it. That's the attraction hidden inside detachment. It was never mystical. It's simply this. A calm mind outperforms a frightened one in negotiations, in relationships, in every high-stakes room you'll ever walk into. People are drawn to those who don't appear to need them. Opportunities gravitate toward those who aren't visibly panicking for them. Not because the universe rewards indifference, but because desperation is detectable and repels exactly what it's chasing. Consider what desperation actually broadcasts. A raised pitch in the voice. Eyes that check the other person's reaction too often. Decisions made a half-second too fast. Out of fear, the window will close. None of that is hidden. People read it even when they can't name what they're reading. And on some level, they trust it less. Now consider the alternative. Not coldness, not indifference, but the specific calm of someone who has already mentally survived the worst version of this outcome. They can still want the deal, the relationship, the opportunity. They simply don't need it to breathe. This is why Epictetus, who had actually been enslaved before eventually gaining his freedom and becoming a teacher of philosophy, could speak with such unshaken authority about freedom itself. In the discourses recorded by his student Arian, he draws a hard line between what belongs to us, our will, our judgments, our choices, and what doesn't, our body, our property, our reputation, even our own children's safety, in the sense that we cannot ultimately control any of it. That is not a comfortable teaching. It was not meant to be. But notice what it does. It takes the areas of life where you have the least actual control and releases your grip on them so that all your remaining strength can go toward the one area where you have complete control, your own mind. So how do you actually build this? Not as a mood, as a practice. Step 1, the evening accounting. Every night before sleep, take 2 minutes. Not journaling your whole day. That's too much friction, and friction kills habits. Just 3 short questions, based on the practice Seneca describes in his writings on anger. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What would I do differently? This isn't self-punishment. It's an audit. And an audit only works if you actually look at the books instead of avoiding them. Do this for 30 days and something shifts. You stop reacting to your day and start reviewing it, which means tomorrow you're a step removed from the reaction. That distance is the beginning of detachment. Keep it physical if you can. An actual notebook, not an app. There's a reason the hand writing something down slows the mind in a way that typing doesn't. You're not performing productivity here. You're building a habit of honest self-observation, and that habit is the foundation everything else in this list depends on. Step 2. Negative visualization. This one sounds bleak on the surface. It is not. Take something you currently have, your health, a relationship, your income. For 60 seconds, in your mind, imagine it gone. Not to be morbid, to break the fusion before a real wreck forces you to. Marcus Aurelius, in his private writings later collected as meditations, repeatedly reminded himself that everything he loved was made of the same clay that returns to dust. A practice meant to prepare the mind, not to invite despair. When you rehearse the loss in a controlled, calm moment, the real loss, if and when it comes, doesn't shatter you. And in the meantime, you feel a sharper, more grateful appreciation for what's currently still in your hands. The mistake most people make with this exercise is doing it while already anxious, spiraling at 2 a.m., imagining catastrophe as a form of self-torture. That is not the practice. The practice happens in a calm state, on purpose, for a fixed 60 seconds, and then you set it down. You are not rehearsing fear. You are rehearsing acceptance. Do it with your morning coffee. Do it looking at a person you love, still asleep, still here. Then let the image go, and return fully to the fact that, right now, you still have it. Step 3. The ownership test. Before reacting to anything today, an insult, a delay, bad news, pause and ask one question. Is this actually up to me? If it isn't, the traffic, the rejection email, someone else's mood, you release your grip on it immediately. Not because it doesn't matter, but because gripping it accomplishes nothing except draining you. If it is up to you, your effort, your integrity, your next sentence, that's where all your energy goes. Undivided, undiluted. This single habit, practiced daily, is the difference between a mind that's scattered across 100 things it can't control and a mind concentrated entirely on a handful of things it can. Try it with something small first. A flight delay, a slow reply from a client. Ask the question out loud if you have to. Is this up to me? No. Then exhale and move to what is, how you spend the next hour while you wait. Small repetitions build the reflex. And once the reflex is built, it starts firing automatically in the moments that actually matter. The harder ones, the ones with real weight attached. Step 4. Voluntary discomfort. Seneca, in his letters to Lucilius, describes deliberately setting aside periods of plain food and rough clothing, not as punishment, but as rehearsal, so that poverty, if it ever came, would hold no terror. You don't need his exact conditions. You need the principle. Once a week, choose a small, voluntary discomfort. A cold shower, a skipped meal, a day without your phone. Each time you do this and survive it, comfortably, even, you prove something to your own nervous system. I do not require ease to function. And once your body believes that, your mind stops bargaining with fear. Start small. You are not trying to become a martyr. You are simply reminding yourself on a regular schedule that comfort is a nice extra, not a requirement for your stability. Do it consistently, and you'll notice the effect spreading into places you didn't expect. Less anxiety before a hard conversation, less panic when a plan falls apart, more room to simply respond instead of react. Zeno's ship is still, technically, at the bottom of that harbor somewhere. But nobody remembers the cargo. Nobody remembers the manifest, the price of the die, the name of the captain. They remember the man who walked away from the wreck and built something that outlasted every ship ever made of wood. Silence. That is the quiet, brutal offer at the center of Stoic detachment. You will lose things. That part isn't negotiable. The wreck comes for all of us, in one form or another. The only real question is what you build on the dock afterward. Somewhere, right now, there is a version of you standing exactly where Zeno stood, soaked, empty-handed, staring at water that just took something you can't get back. Maybe it's a job. a relationship, a version of the future you'd already started planning around. The wreck doesn't care what philosophy you subscribe to. It happens to merchants and emperors and everyone in between. But what happens next? That's still yours. That was always the only part that ever was. If this gave you something to sit with today, subscribe. There's another wreck, another lesson, another doc waiting next week. Until then, hold on to less and watch what finds you.